Okay, it looks like folks are coming into the monthly meeting already, so we'll go ahead and get started here today. So first of all, welcome. My name is Alan Rising. I'm the CASH chair. I'm also the business services administrator for Long Beach Unified School District. So I want to take a moment and welcome everyone to our monthly meeting, monthly CASH meeting. I also want to take a moment and offer up or recognize all of our first-time attendees. So if you're a first-time attendee to our CASH monthly meeting, please, we'd like to hear from you. So take a moment and let us know in the chat that you're a first-time attendee so we can recognize you. I'd also like to remind everyone that you are muted for this meeting, but we do want to hear your comments and suggestions or questions. So please use the chat feature. Make sure that your chat is being addressed to everyone, all attendees and panelists, so that we can see that. And as we go through the agenda, we'll be addressing as many of those questions as we can get to. So we have a great panel today. We're really inviting in our folks from DSA. We also have Ida Clare, the state architect, will be with us today. Lisa Silverman from the Office of Public School Construction will be here today. We'll have some of our lobbyists from McDonald, Walrath, and Holmes here today to talk to us. Nancy Chavez Espinoza, Rebecca Colleen, and Ian Padilla to talk to us. And then we'll also give you a little update on our school conference, the school facilities conference that will be coming up. So I see Mr. Pace just popped online as we begin this. It's an interesting time. It's a busy time for school districts right now, I'll say. We are heavily in budget craziness here in Long Beach. Tom, I'm sure you're probably doing the same thing as budget development starts to happen and we go through that annual process of trying to forecast what our budgets are going to be for next year, trying to figure out and do a little bit of prognostication of what our May revise may look like and come up with numbers because you know, as a school district, we have to be ready to adopt a budget before the start of the next fiscal year. So we're
in the process of closing this year's budget. So it's
while we at the same time try to figure out what happened last year, right? So it's a bit of a crazy time right now as we deal with our fiscal department, but other than that, it's been great. Weather's fantastic here in Southern California. How's it going out in San Bernardino there, Tom?
It is actually gorgeous weather. You have the mountains with snow on them. You have, 70-degree weather. Not a lot of your smog has blown out this way today. So it is a fantastic day in San Bernardino.
Great. So,
and good seeing you, Alan. I like seeing you.
Nice seeing you, and nice seeing everybody being with us here today. So, so with that, we are going to go ahead and just jump into our meeting. Unfortunately, today we do not have anybody from California Department of Education. Oh, I missed something. Excuse me. Let me jump back into this really quick. So I want to take a minute and let everybody know about our CASH Legislative and Policy Forum that is scheduled for Thursday, May the 18th. We're going to be hosting it right here in Long Beach, excuse me, at the Long Beach Marriott. This will be a great opportunity to engage with various different policymakers and legislative folks to talk with us about where some of the policies happening in the state. As just to remind folks, we have a host of new policymakers at the state level, many new legislative leaders that have been elected into office. So it's really important that we engage and we really talk about some of the policy issues that are out there and affecting our industry. So highly recommend that you register for that event. There's information that's available on the CASH website on some of the topics that we'll be talking about, the agendas, those kind of things for the forum. So please take a look at that, and we look forward to seeing everyone there on May the 18th right here in Long Beach. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump ahead. As I said, unfortunately, we don't have anybody here from the California Department of Ed. So we will move right to Ida Clare from the state architect. Good morning, Ida. And give us a little update on what's happening with the California State Architect's Office.
Good morning, Alan. Good morning, everyone. I am going to attempt to share my screen, which is always a unique experience every single month. So let's see if this works. I need screen sharing, Ellen, or someone. It says disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, okay, so it looks like.
Okay, go ahead and
See?
share it now.
There you go. I think it was a bit prophetic for me.
You called that one.
Yeah, I did, unfortunately, yes. Okay. I think we got it.
There we go.
Am I sharing? Yes? Okay, good, right? You can see my screen. It's kind of weird setup for me, so. All right,
Yes, we can see. it.
perfect. Okay. See, and now it's not advancing. There we go. All right. We continue to be busy in the month of April. We have about $525 million worth of school construction we're processing. What's really critical here that you see is the number of projects. It's 200 projects. And obviously, as you know, a lot of our projects, when they're submitted, it doesn't necessarily mean on the size. There's still a lot of processes that we need to get them into our system, assigned to staff, and process. So while the dollar value is always considerate of our work and the volume of our work, the number of projects is really a better indicator, and 213 is a lot, which means you guys are busy in wanting to get your projects done for this summer. And so we're seeing them now, and we are working to process these as quickly as possible. Sacramento and San Diego are our busiest offices right now. And Los Angeles actually is the busiest with the most number of projects instead of Sacramento and San Diego are busiest in number of projects. Los Angeles is busy in the quantity of the dollar volume. May, all right, come on. Whoa, okay, hold on. Gosh, now why is it not working when it did? There we go. May submittals, we're about 500 million in May as well. Again, the numbers continue to be high. We're looking at 210 at that point. So we will be busy doing your work for the next couple months, using all our staff. You're doing a good job in keeping all our staff busy. Electronic back check. We've been talking about this for a while, but now we have a launch date, and that's May 5th. And so it's coming within the next couple of weeks. There will be a procedure as well on our website, PR 23, and I don't know the number yet because we have to see when in our file system what that number will be, and we'll get that out as quickly as possible. But it's really having a phase 1 desk review and a phase 2 in-person interactive with the design team. So what's important to understand here, that while our processes remain electronic, we want to get these projects out. And while in the pandemic, we were able to do all our work electronically, we did notice that there was a little bit more of a lag in closing them out, because that involves the schedule of both the design team and DSA. And if they're not completely ready to be closed out, the back check process lingers. So our new electronic back check is kind of a hybrid work in the sense that phase 1 is a desk review with just DSA, and it's not interactive, and the design team is not involved. All of you, if you answer your questions and clear your comments sufficiently, can get through a phase 1 back check without having to attend in person at DSA. If it does send to a phase 2 back check, which means there's still some outstanding comments, it will require a visit to the DSA regional office to close out. And we do feel that in many ways that presence of the design team in person really compels the design team to address the concerns comprehensively. And so that's why this phase 2 back check is being implemented. Alan, did you have a question?
So, yeah, no, I just wanted to be clear what I understood. So it's possible that we could get a stamp that gets stamped out in the phase 1 review without having to go to a phase 2 process.
Absolutely. And this is especially critical when we have all these numerous smaller projects, right? Smaller projects should yield fewer comments. And so our goal is to say, especially for these smaller projects that are summer projects, let's get through it in phase one, right? No visit, quicker on our end. You will also now be receiving an email that says when you can anticipate comments being cleared. So part of this process in-house is to actually schedule with everyone and provide a response to the design professional as to when the days when our review will occur and when it's scheduled to close. And so after that review closes, you will either get more comments because they weren't answered adequately. Obviously, our goal is our policy is not, that we're not taking another second bite at the review and adding more comments. We require our staff to, take care of the comments in when we provide those comments to you originally. So our goal is to get these done as quickly as possible without even having a visit in the office. And so hopefully with this launch and with the summer projects, that will actually occur.
Great.
More often than not, I should say. Okay, again, our solar panels and battery storage. We initially had these being covered only by the San Diego regional office, but now we're seeing a bit more. So we are transitioning into sending these projects to the regional office in which the project resides. But we are getting more of them, and we do have 2 IRs that clarify the requirements. One is a design IR, which is IR 16.8. It's been around for a while. It was updated in 2021 to address 2022 CBC requirements. And then, of course, IR-N4, which addresses the BESS systems, battery energy storage systems. So those 2 IRs will provide you information. And of course, if you have further information, further questions, please schedule a pre-app meeting or reach out, or if your project has already been submitted and you're in the planning process, to reach out to the plan reviewer and get that additional clarity. Just once again, we're still meeting with the county offices of education on assistance after an emergency. We're a little apprehensive right now, as I'm sure all of you are, if you're near rivers and creeks and streams with the rapid snow melt. It's scheduled to be 90 degrees here in Sacramento today, which means about 60 degrees in the Sierras. So melting is going to happen. If you have any kind of issue, just a reminder that if there's no declared emergency in your county by the governor's office, contact your local DSA regional office for assistance. We can send someone out to evaluate your facilities. If the governor declares an emergency, you will need to work with the local enforcement entity. They are the triage entity. They will communicate with the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, Cal-OES, to request a mission task. They will deliver the mission task to DSA, and then DSA will be sent out working with the local entity. So that's just a reminder. We do still have the video available, Planning for and Addressing Natural Disasters, on our interagency school construction resources. And this was our tri-agency outreach with California Department of Education and Office of Public School Construction. So fingers crossed, it's going to be a slow melt, not going to be an issue, right? Positive thinking, but we do always need to prepare. So a little bit, if you need DSA assistance, this is the information you need. And we're here to help. Our access intervening code cycle, again, highlighting some of the requirements here, especially the requirements for all gender, in making multi-user all gender facilities accessible. Our 45-day comment period closed on Wednesday. We will likely have a 15-day comment period with some non-substantive changes in language. So watch for that as well. But the 45-day comment period and the ability to issue comments is now closed for our initial rollout. But we are proceeding through the rulemaking process, and it is, I believe, the Access Building Standards Commission meeting will be near the end of June. Cal Green is still in the middle of its 45-day comment period. You can find the regulations on the Building Standards Commission website. We provide a link on our website to the Building Standards Commission website on the rulemaking process. And you can also, we did send out a general email to everyone on our listserv regarding that the Cal Green requirements were in the 45-day comment period. This does address electric vehicle charging, changes to electric vehicle charging stations in providing a power alternative as opposed to a prescriptive requirement based on parking stalls. And there are some trigger some requirements in alterations. More often than not, if you have infrastructure and you're altering a building on campus, we will require that you actually install chargers where that infrastructure is. And then there is a carbon reduction for very large facilities, a carbon reduction method that we are introducing in conjunction with Building Standards Commission to address climate change issues. And many of your architects already do this, providing 3 paths to compliance. One is building reuse, one is a prescriptive requirement similar to Bike Clean California, and then of course one's a whole building life cycle analysis, that's a performance requirement. And the addition of CO2 monitors in classrooms when an alteration occurs so that we can ensure those healthy environments and alert teachers and facility personnel when these environments are no longer considered healthy indoor air quality. Structural safety is also in the middle of its 45-day comment period. That ends May 22nd. There is not a significant amount of change to the structural safety code cycle requirements, but you can also find those on our webpage, and we encourage you to be mindful of the 45-day comment period if you do want to comment, because that is your opportunity. You can also comment at the Building Standards Commission meeting. However, by then it's pretty well cooked, and so it would either be adopted or not adopted. There is no opportunity to address language. Plumbing code, we also have this in the middle of our 45-day comment period. These are the requirements for all gender multi-user restroom facilities. As a reminder, these are not required to be provided. Although I do believe there is a legislative bill in the legislature right now that requires schools at least to provide one single user one, but this is really relevant to all gender multi-user facilities. So if you are either transitioning or designing for all gender multi-user facilities in your school facilities, there will be requirements in the plumbing code that permit you to do that. Presently in the plumbing code, it's not permitted. It has to be accomplished by alternate means. So we're actually aligning, as I stated previously, with the rest of the country who has, because they use a different model code, has already the requirements or the permission to use multi-gender all-user facilities in the other 49 states. And then just part 2 of our Sustainable School Showcase this month is San Bernardino Community College. We focused on one of their buildings in March. And now that we're in April, this is part 2, and it actually focuses on their sustainability plan. So I encourage you to read all our California Sustainable School Showcase if you haven't. Our goal with the Sustainable School Showcase is showing all the good work that's happening in California regarding sustainable schools. And it's meant to inspire other districts and provide a network where you can contact either the school district or the design professional and get questions answered to see if, you know, any of the challenges that they've encountered and the results that have been accomplished may inspire you to address sustainability in your facilities as well, beyond obviously the requirements of Cal Green. This is really achieving net zero energy and net zero carbon, which Cal Green is incrementally, and the Energy Code is incrementally on its way to trying to do, but these are obviously more ambitious goals for our schools. And with that, that is the conclusion of my presentation, and I can take questions.
Well, great. Thank you, Ida. I appreciate all the hard work to really kind of help us push forward all these design work and all these projects, and trying to always kind of innovate and change the way that we collaborate together. So thank you for that. I'm just kind of quickly scanning the chat. I don't see any direct questions out there. So without that, I guess we will move on. If there are any other questions, I'm sure Ida will hang around just a minute longer. But with that, I think we'll move into the next part of our presentation, and we'll call Lisa Silverman up to the screen to talk to us a little bit about the work of OPSC. And I know, Lisa, you have a meeting a little later today that you'll be presenting some valuable projects to the board. So we're very excited to hear about that.
Yeah, so I know it's like 2 in a row. What can we say? We have a consent agenda this month, and it's going to be, I would say, light in its content, but it's not light with approvals. So we're looking forward to presenting that to the board today. Not only we actually had some bond sales last month, and we're presenting some projects in the consent agenda that relate to those bond sales. So I think we initially slated for 156.4 million as part of the consent agenda, and that's 33 projects. But we had to do some revisions, so we were working with some school districts, and so the amount has changed down to 148.2 million. And then we also have some new projects that are approved, and those are going with the general fund proceeds with the direct apportionment, and that's over $90 million. So again, a lot of money going out today. So excited about that. We do definitely want to, I want to dovetail on Ida's comments earlier about providing assistance to districts. And I know we've had these horrendous storms, and I know earthquakes as we, just the cusp of the new year. And we've been active in that area as well with DSA and Department of Education and Cal OES. We've toured a number of sites, and just want to reiterate that, beyond if the district has incurred some losses and, which is beyond their insurance coverage, we would like to help you in that area. Just determine to see if you're eligible for some program funds related to the facility hardship program. We have toured many schools unfortunately, and it was unfortunately that we have these occurrences, but we have been providing assistance and want to continue to provide assistance as we go through this next round of, and cross our fingers, as I just mentioned, that we don't have any additional damage or flooding that does occur to some of our local regions. So we'll still be working together and identifying those who have needs. And again, if you're not familiar with our program, just tap in. We have a facility hardship page dedicated to this. And then I'll jump into the next topic, which we have a virtual joint agency workshop this Friday, April 28th at 11 o'clock from 11 to noon. No appointments necessary. We'll be joined with our colleagues at Department of Education, Division State Architect, and we're going to have mini workshops. And the mini workshops are going to be focused on, at least for OPSC, the facility hardship program. So that's really kind of tied into timely on how we've provided assistance recently and how to access the program depending on the various impacts you may have or will have had in the past related to perhaps flooding and other facility hardship needs for our program. And I know, I believe DSA is also, the representative there will be discussing the publications, and CDE will be touching base on the application process as well. And another topic that we're going to hit on is OPSC Online. And what other updates we have? We have a new senator. Senator Josh Newman will be had joined our board effective April 12th of this year. And so we have a complete complement of board members now. I know it trailed a few months, and actually filling in that vacancy with Senator Leyva leaving her post. So yeah, we're happy to have Senator Newman join us. And then the last update I want to provide is we have an upcoming party filing round, and that opens up May 10th. Believe it or not, we still have some projects and we have some unsold bonds still. And so anyone who provides us certification from the May 10th through June 8th filing round, we're encouraging districts to submit that certification online. And again, once we do receive your certification and it's within that valid time frame, your certification will be valid from July 1st of 2023 to December 31st of 2023. I know, believe it or not, we have gone through and we have been funding projects via the direct apportionment, but we still have some bond funds to allocate as well. So if you are interested in getting in that line, please provide us a certification. And with that, that's the updates I have for today.
Well, great. Thank you. Thank you for all the dollars that are getting out to the streets to needy projects that are out there. And, it really goes, just to reiterate, those districts that could potentially or will potentially be impacted by any sort of flooding or anything that comes from these unprecedented storms that we had this last winter. These agencies are out there for you. So definitely reach out to OPSC. They're available to help you and address those needs going forward. But that is so important. And we really appreciate that work and the dedication of those needy districts that are out there. So thank you. Thank you for that. So Tom, I see you pop on. Did you have a question or a comment?
I did. I had a comment and a question, if you don't mind, Lisa. One, I just wanted to say thank you. We had an emergency several years ago that it was not a natural emergency, but your staff did a wonderful job in helping us, and just wanted to let everyone know that if you do come across something, that OPSC is there to help. But my second topic was, now that the state of emergency with COVID is over, has the state allocation board thought about moving back to in-person meetings?
So good question. We actually still have this statute that's still in place. So I know we are fostering a hybrid work environment for our office. And then for the state allocation board meetings, at this time, the statute's in place until the end of June. So we'll be hosting our next meeting through the end of June via Zoom. And we're just assuming that we're going in person. And so we've obviously been scouring town for a location. So, I know we've been competing with folks in the Capitol in a meeting space. So we're doing our best to, again, try to get a location that's central to everybody and make a convenience for our members, because I know it's rather challenging when you have different locations and not having a regular place to have a meeting. So we're working on that. So I would expect our next meeting sometime August will be in person, unless the statute is extended. And I know when we did have a brief meeting, I think we had 2 meetings that we held in person before they extended the statute again. I know it was again a challenge trying to find a meeting location. So again, we're trying to smooth that out. And again, we'll have an audience there, I'm sure, in the future.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Great,
All right.
great. Thank you. So I don't see any more questions in the chat. So thank you, Lisa, and thank you for the great work. We appreciate it.
Have a great day.
So we're going to move on to the next section. We're gonna call up some of our McDonald Walrath and Holmes lobbyists. So we're going to call up Nancy Charez Espinoza, Rebecca Killeen, and Ian Padilla to talk to us about some regulatory updates that are happening in the state. So looks like Nancy, you're up first. So it looks like you're going to take it away.
Thank you, Alan. It's good to be with you all. I wanted to start giving you just a little bit of sense of the climate, the environment in the legislature right now. The legislature is in full swing with policy committee deadlines approaching. This Friday, April 28th, is the last day for policy committees to hear and report fiscal bills, which most pieces of legislation do have a fiscal impact. Next Friday, May 5th, is the last day for policy committees to hear and report non-fiscal bills. So they will still hold hearings next week, but this is the week where their agendas are really packed. It's also the week where if you've had trouble with opposition or issues that you needed to work out in your bill, this is the last week that you can get it heard. So we're seeing a lot of bills that are not quite ready to move on being heard this week. And it makes for longer hearings when folks are trying to work out the remaining issues during the hearing. I'll give you an example of that. The Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday met for over 14 hours. I actually don't know when they stopped because I quit tracking at that point. 5 hours in, they were starting their third bill. So some of these bills are just very complex, and in some cases not really ready to move on, but legislators really try to work with authors and fix things. So some very long hearings this week. Alan mentioned our host of new policymakers, and we've been talking to you as well since the last election about the very large new class and how that changes really the environment. Along with that, we've also, we may have noted to you, that there's a lot of very inexperienced staff, which is not new in the legislature, right? It's always been a place where young folks, relatively inexperienced folks come in. What is different is that more experienced layer seems to be thinning out pretty significantly, and it's to the point where legislators are openly discussing brain drain. So that is just a very important part of the climate, and really it affects every part of the work that we do. The other contextual thing I wanted to share with you is that legislative staff themselves are becoming more active in the process on their own behalf. You may have caught some headlines about a bill that would allow legislative staff to unionize. It was just approved by the Assembly Purse Committee this morning. And there was another bill that was approved last week in Senate elections that, as introduced, it would have prohibited legislative staff from, frankly, having any communication with the legislature or working for an organization that has had communication with the legislature in the past 3 years. So that kind of brought up this issue of brain drain and would it make it worse, things of that nature. So those are some of the really hot topics not related to school facilities, but I just wanted you to know kind of what's taking up the minds and the time of folks over there. So pivoting to school facilities, great news, AB 247 by Mr. Muratsuchi and 2 other joint authors, of course, was approved in Assembly Higher Education Committee. Thank you to my colleague Rebecca for providing some of the lead support testimony for that. She did such a great job that there was not much discussion after the presentation. The bill was not amended in that committee, and it goes on to the Assembly Appropriations Committee, where it will probably stay until just shortly before the May 19th fiscal deadline. That's the deadline for the Appropriations Committees to take action on a bill, either hold them or move them on to the Assembly floor. I don't have a lot on budget for you today, but the budget subcommittees are still meeting. They are still refining and finalizing their own priorities in advance of the May revision. This has been an interesting year, coming off of a surplus year, going into a period where tax receipts continue to fall below the projection, which LAO did warn us, and I believe Finance did as well. As of the latest report, I think Finance is saying that the tax receipts are about 4.7 lower than the 4.7 billion, lower than the projection. So all of that information is going to inform the governor's May revision of his January budget proposal. And that kicks off kind of a repeat of the process that we've seen from January till now, but just much faster. That's going to happen probably in the space of about a week, 2 weeks max, where all of these budget committees and budget subcommittees are going to quickly review the May revision once that's released in mid-May and finalize their positions going into negotiation. And currently, since both houses are led by Democratic leaders, it's going to be Speaker of the Assembly, the President Pro Tem of the Senate, and the governor who really hammer out that final budget package on the main bill. The one thing that we have been seeing in the last few years is that the main bill that is passed by the constitutional deadline at the end of June is it's very high level, and a lot of work is left to be done. So we expect that trend to continue, in that we do expect an on-time budget, but a lot of work left to be fleshed out in budget trailer bills that are allowed to be passed after that deadline. So with that, I will pass it on to my colleague, Rebecca.
Thank you, Nancy. Hi, everyone. Just to bridge some of the comments that Nancy made about the excitement surrounding our state school bond, cash in partnership with our coalition partner, the California Building Industry Association, we have started the process to poll and see where our voters are on related issues. So our initial results are showing that we have a viable state school bond for the 2024 ballot. We will win with a strong campaign. Voters absolutely recognize the vital importance of school facilities and specifically core program details. So ensuring health and safety, doing vital repairs, workforce training, the importance that school facilities bring to the table, right? So we will continue to pull through this process as the bill AB 247 does move through the legislature to help inform some of the key policy development questions, like the size of the bond, what's that dollar amount? So you see, we still don't have that dollar amount yet, and we're expecting that hopefully as the bill comes out of the Appropriations Committee and continues its journey through the legislative process. But we're very excited to have that viable measure and to continue to work with you all, our members, to ensure its success. Transitioning to another funding topic, I wanted to talk a little bit about transitional kindergarten facilities. So Nancy is absolutely correct. It's been a very active couple of weeks on the budget subcommittee front. So that's where the legislature really dives into the details of the governor's budget proposal. And on our transitional kindergarten facilities, the governor did propose to delay $550 million that we are expecting for our preschool TK full day kindergarten facilities grant program in the next fiscal year, so 23-24. Cash is opposed to that delay. We believe that facilities are vital to the successful implementation of that new grade level, and a delay at this point would be detrimental to the implementation. Yesterday, there was a robust conversation in our Assembly Budget Subcommittee that governs education finance, and they revisited this issue. So they already had a very detailed conversation about early childhood education and where TK fits into that, and specifically facilities. The conversation was so detailed the first time around that they came back to it to talk specifically in even more detail about some of the funding. So the subcommittee posed the question of, given where we are with the revenue picture that Nancy mentioned, should the 2024 state bond consider a comprehensive TK facilities program, i.e., do we take the pressure off this general fund appropriation that's been promised and instead say, let's deal with that in the bond? Our bond stakeholder group, which is meeting to flesh out details of AB 247, has started to look at this question about how TK facilities may be incorporated into the 2024 bond. They are eligible in our core new construction and modernization programs. There are certainly some tweaks that need to happen in order to fully implement and bring those facilities into that program. And one of the things that we're thinking about is what funding might look like for TK facilities in a bond. Do we provide some supplemental funding? Do we help to incentivize those types of projects? But in particular, Cash wants to ensure that we don't let up the pressure on that $550 million commitment. The current round, March 2023 of applications, was way oversubscribed. There was $360 million available for that round and $1.5 billion in applications, which Lisa and her team has shared with us previously. So we know that the demand is there, the need is there. We have so many other needs in our bond that we're not going to be able to cover all of our transitional kindergarten immediate facilities needs, as well as the needs of our core new construction and modernization program and other priorities across the state. So Cash did testify yesterday on that subcommittee to say, please don't go back on that promise to provide the general fund $550 million, because we need it now and it's key to implementation. Switching gears a little bit to connect to local bonds, SB 532 Wiener is a Cash-sponsored bill that's trying to help mitigate the effects of AB 195, which requires new financial disclosures on the ballot label. So that's within that 75-word statement. I know I've talked to you for years about this bill and this really important issue, which is making it more difficult for our school districts up and down the state to successfully put bonds on the ballot. We do have a mixed report on this. So the good news is that SB 532 is still moving through the legislative process. We moved successfully through the Governance and Finance Committee, and then just last week, the Elections Committee. The mixed news is that the bill is looking a little bit different than it did initially. In order to get through the Senate Elections Committee, the chair there, Senator Glazer, had some significant concerns about the path that SB 532 originally proposed, which was an alternative to direct voters to the voter guide for more information about how their property taxes might be affected by a proposed bond. But the Senator Glazer wanted to keep that fiscal disclosure information on the ballot label. He was very clear and very stringent about that. So we worked with him and his staff to come up with an alternate solution. So what SB 532 now will do is it will exempt those fiscal disclosures from the 75-word ballot label word cap. So that gives us more space to talk about what a measure will do, what types of projects it will fund in a community, and then additional space to explain those fiscal disclosures on the ballot label. So we're continuing to move through the legislative process. Our next stop is Appropriations Committee. Incremental progress that will help is still very beneficial. And so we're really excited to continue the process on SB 532. And with that, I'll hand the talking stick over to my colleague, Ian. Thanks, everybody. And I'll look to the chat to see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Rebecca and Nancy. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'll be brief. I'm going to talk to you about 3 bills. I'll give you a little better sense of where we are on that. And I appreciate my colleagues kind of putting where we are in the legislative process in context. So first of all, the issues of water quality and school temperature, both interior and exterior, continue to be hot legislative and policy topics in the legislature. And so we're watching those and engaging with those bills that are going through the committees right now. So the first one, significant bill, is AB 249 Holden. And that, the best way to think of that quickly is it's very much like AB 746. The conceptual model there basically is community water systems, testing school water. But the significant expansion of that concept is it reduces the triggering, the numeric triggering from 15 parts per billion to 5 parts per billion. So it's a much bigger universe, and also probably as significant, instead of sampling potable water systems with testing under 746, this one would require all potable water systems to be tested. So again, you can see the potential expansion of testing and potential expense. So it also includes provisions that would allow for water filtering and providing bottled water in systems that are shut down because of a test that is greater than 5 parts per billion. So again, a lot of folks are significant, but it's like AB 746 on steroids. So CASH and other educational associations have been meeting with the sponsors, expressing our concerns about the bill. So we are hopefully, as it goes into the fiscal committees, hopefully to narrow it so it's less expensive and less of an impact on districts and provides more of a resource. The last thing I'll say, however, for a greater context, these types of requirements, the 5 parts per billion, for instance, is coming down in federal requirements very soon anyway. There's a process of federal rulemaking, which will hopefully not conflict with whatever policy is being discussed here. That's some of the issues that the community water systems are expressing their concern in the committee process. So watch this space. We'll certainly give you more information about it. But I think the greater message here is, despite this bill, water quality continues to be a significant issue in the legislative and rulemaking process. So watch this space. And then in terms of the 2 temperature bills, AB 384 Calderon is, oh, I see, the bill number is AB 249 Holden. Someone asked that in the chat. And you can contact me directly if you want to talk more about that or have more information. But the school interior temperature bill is AB 384 Calderon. as introduced, frankly, was pretty onerous, would require an established temperature range right off the bat and other pieces that we thought were unworkable. Long story short, we worked with the author, we think in a good process, and they amended the bill back significantly, essentially to what we and other educational associations thought was more reasonable. So for the Department of Education to study the school's temperature standards, to look at doing a statewide inventory on HVAC systems, and develop a stakeholder process. So CASH, other schools would be able to have a voice in that rulemaking. So we think that's a much better bill. On the other side, a bill that is not very good is SB 499 by Assemblywoman Menjivar. It's called the School Extreme Heat Action Plan of 2023, and that focuses on school exterior temperatures. Would require by 2025 to replace surfaces such as cement, asphalt, brick, pebbles, sand, aggregate, rubber, and synthetic turf with cool pavement technologies, grass, mini forests, shrubs, wood chips, and so on. So it's a very prescriptive and expansive bill. This is a bill that CASH and other educational associations are overtly opposing. In the first committees, we tend to want to work collaboratively with the authors to try to make changes in a more collaborative way. But this one just has not changed. And so we continue to be opposed to the bill. A quick summary of it, you could say it'd be a requirement, a lot of forced landscaping, essentially, and what we think would conflict with a lot of existing requirements that are in code already. We heard the state architect even talk about some that are coming down the pike through the green building implementation process, things like that. So we are taking a look at that, trying to bring some reason, frankly, to that bill. And so watch for that one as well. Quickly, two legislative or regulatory items, CalShape, the deadline for applying for round 4 funding has been extended to May 31st. And then, of course, they're discussing for the 5th round, possibly allowing the funding to be used for repairs. And so hopefully that program could evolve to something beyond, CO2 monitors and assessment. So, but I wanted to say that. And more broadly, the State Water Board is including schools again in their state municipal permit. And so myself and other relevant state agencies will be meeting with them to engage in that process. So more information on that issue as well to come. So with that, thank you very much. And I'll turn it over to Alan. The last thing I would say is also to push the state or the cash policy forum in Long Beach on the 18th. You'll hear definitely more about these bills, other bills, as well as that'll be past the May revision. So we'll know a lot more about the facility issues in the state budget. So hope you can make that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Alan, and thank you.
Got it. Thank you, Ian, Rebecca, and Nancy for a great kind of summary of all the work CASH is doing at the in Sacramento to ensure that we are looking closely at all the policies that affect our schools. I don't know, Tom, you popped up. Did you have a question for Ian, Nancy, or Rebecca?
Nope, I was just anticipating the lead in because I think I'm next.
Got it. No, we got a couple more in front of you, but
Then you know what?
yeah,
I jumped the gun, so I apologize. I was just
Not a
excited to
problem.
talk about the annual conference.
Not a problem. So I think at this point, we're going to call Nancy back up and talk to us a little bit about the School Energy Coalition update.
Thanks, Alan. I'll keep this one short, just a few things to share with you. SB 394 by Senator Gonzalez. This is the master plan for healthy, sustainable, and climate resilient schools. This is an SEC supported bill. Was heard in Senate Ed this morning. I was able to testify in support. It got 3 votes and placed on call. We do expect it to get out, but I don't think they have adjourned. They haven't finalized their vote on bills yet. The net energy metering NEMA, the aggregated version of the program. The PUC is still conducting its proceeding. We are about 90 days in, excuse me, there is a 90-day period that was announced in which the PUC may issue its decision in this proceeding. We're a couple of weeks into that period. So SEC is trying to reach out and engage directly with the lead commissioner. And just really our ask is that if they're going to make any policy changes, that those be based on data about who actually participates in this program, what our usage patterns are, where we are a drain on the grid, where we actually support it and enhance it for other users, things of that nature. Last thing I will add is just a plug for what Ida said. Please, folks, if you can, take a look at those green code regs that we are in the review period. Some really significant things are in there, many of the same topics that are being dealt with in the legislature. We, of course, love this regulatory process because it's so thoughtful and it has this opportunity for practitioners to really weigh in and participate. So please avail yourself of that. Ian's been doing a lot of work for SEC as well, but there's been a little bit of crossover. I think you shared, Ian, some of the work that you are doing for SEC already, like SB 499, Menjivar is a priority. So unless he pops in, let us know.
Yeah, no problem, Nancy. I think we covered them, and it's been a good collaboration on bills of mutual interest to the organization. So thanks. That's all I have.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all we have for SEC, Alan. You're muted, Alan.
Of course, you have to do that at least once every webinar, but thank you, Nancy and Ian, for the great work with the Energy Coalition and really important areas where policy changes are directly impacting the operations of school districts and the funds that we have available to serve our students. So it's great work there. We really appreciate all that support. So I see Mr. Walrath popping up to the screen, and so we're going to move on to the Californians for School Facilities and talk about some of the work that we're doing in Washington, D.C. And so Dave, take it away. Tell us what's going on there.
Thank you, Alan. Well, we're seeing the changes that have occurred since the last election with the new House majority looking at how they're dealing with the expenditures that have been provided in the Inflation Reduction Act and a number of other proposed legislation and funding that has been made. Effectively, the debt ceiling issue is now coming to the fore and becoming less time available to address the debt ceiling, which is, if you cannot raise the debt ceiling, you cannot pay for what government is doing, and people think that that'll be a major crisis, and they're absolutely right economically. So it has to be dealt with. The majority party in the House is saying, well, in order to increase the debt, we want to cut spending. So things like the Inflation Reduction Act with the $400 billion for energy efficiency, generation, storage, the school bus programs and like that, and ESSER are being proposed to be deleted or clawed back for funds that hadn't been expended. So you have that going on and the drama associated with that. At the same time, the Department of Treasury is putting together its regulations on how schools can apply for this money. Not the ESSER, because that's already been done by other federal agencies, but the Inflation Reduction Act money. So one part of government is working to get the money out the door, and another part of government is working to make sure the money never goes out the door. Welcome to the Washington, D.C. and the operation of our federal government. This will be solved, it will be dealt with, but there will be some drama going on these programs over the next couple of months, well, definitely a couple of weeks and potentially up until the middle of June. So with that, we're following, we're supporting and advocating in DC that for the ESSER funds, that they not be clawed back. Instead, there'll be more clarification on the audits, more flexibility on the audits, and extensions of the deadlines for spending the money, as well as advocating for Treasury to get their regulations out quickly so school districts will be able to start applying for some of that $400 billion. That's where we are now, Alan. I haven't checked to see if there are any questions
Well, we
in the
don't.
chat.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat, but I will just kind of leave a comment that, you know, the ESSER funds and the expenditure of these ESSER funds is something that I think many districts up and down the state and probably the nation are extremely concerned about, right? The ability to execute that money is very limited just by economic constraints that are out there with our industry, with workforce availability and supply chain difficulties. And so that work that you're doing to help secure extensions, you know, we did see that at least 5 states were granted some levels of extensions in the last month or so. So really appreciate all that hard work to convince our federal legislators that that we just need a bit more time to really make use of those dollars.
Correct, because we have liquidation problems because of supply chain issues that have not gone away. And so
Yeah.
that is how we are doing some of the things we're doing on giving examples of
Yeah.
why districts are unable to fully complete the expenditure because of the supply problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there was a question popped in about explaining those extensions. Yeah, that is something that's being lobbied from various different groups to say that we just need a bit more time considering the supply chain and workforce availability challenges that we are experiencing. Simple things that normally would be readily available are just taking extended periods of times to be able to get. And especially those things that are in high demand that directly impact the health and safety and usability of our school sites. So yeah, somebody chirped in, I think Julie Arthur, past chair, chirped in, more than 34 weeks to get a BARD unit. And you know, we're still struggling with things like EMS controls and other necessary items to run HVAC systems and air filtration systems are just you know, unobtainable, I should say. So these are all things that we're really working hard. And I know these Californians for School Facilities are working hard to make sure our federal legislators understand some of those constraints that we're under. So thank you, Dave. I appreciate all the work that you're doing to push those issues forward at the federal level.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you all.
Absolutely. So now we will call up our Vice Chair, Tom Pace, and give him the microphone to talk a little bit about our annual conference.
You know, Alan, as vice chair, there's nothing I like talking about more than our annual conference. So I just get excited and need to cut people off about it. Just a couple quick things, housekeeping items on the annual conference. I know that the window closed last week for calls for co-strand chair applications. We'll be notifying people shortly of the decisions that were made and look forward to those that are going to be serving with us this coming year. Proposals for topics for the next annual conference are due at the end of the week on the 28th. And our next planning committee meeting is Wednesday, May 24th. And looking forward to seeing everyone at the 45th annual conference next year, February 28th through March 1st. So start making plans. And with that, you know, that's kind of the end of my quick and excited update.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, it'll be another fantastic conference coming off of the heels of the 44th conference in Sacramento. So looking forward to some of the great work that's going on with those planners and folks that are working on that. So look forward to it. So mark your calendar and be sure to be there. So moving on, we'll move into just a quick plug for our job exchange and People's Choice. So if you have an RFP that or a job position that's available, we have an exchange for that, a location where you can advertise that. So please take advantage. Or if you're looking for a job, there may be a great opportunity here for those folks, but please take advantage of that as an opportunity to be able to engage with our members and get your information out to all of our membership. So with that, we'll jump into the next slide. So the next cash day will be Wednesday, May the 24th, again at 11 o'clock to about 12:15. We are a little ahead of schedule now. So I'll take a moment to plug our public policy forum one more time on May 18th, just ahead of the next cash day, in person down here in Long Beach at the Long Beach Marriott. So you'll have an opportunity to engage with folks that are working with our state policymakers and learn about what the new revised may revise from the governor's offices and what some of the inevitable adjustments that will be made in that budget will look like. So very much looking forward to seeing everybody down here in Long Beach at that legislative and policy forum. So with that, I don't see any additional comments coming into our chat. So I want to take a minute and thank all of the hardworking folks that came in today to talk with us, our state partners at the Division of State Architect and Office of Public School Construction, who took time out of their busy day to come in and give us an update. And obviously all of the folks from CASH that are working every day to ensure that all of our school facility issues are being addressed in Sacramento. So thank everyone, and we want to wish you a great day and be safe, and we will see you the next opportunity we can get together. So thank you very much. Have a great day.